All right, Coach, you've had the bye week and now these past few days to prepare for this Edmonton game. Just how do you think everything's going heading into this game tomorrow?
That's why you play the game. You know, you can think that it's going well and you know how you've prepared, but you got to play the game. And so at this point, coaches have been fantastic. Players have been, responsive to all of that. I can just say it's been a collective effort, and so we're as prepared at this point, at this minute, as we can be. Obviously, there's a little bit more prep time leading up. The next test is to play the game.
Tomorrow, the alumnus of distinction will be Darren Flutie, a guy you know very well and have won a championship with. Mm-hmm. Just what you can say about him being honored and your time with him playing and knowing him.
Well, I could say a whole bunch. I can say that, he's a Hall of Famer for a reason. He was an outstanding teammate. I think the biggest thing that stood out to me was his demeanor, his preparation. He just wouldn't stop. Little things that he did. I was actually telling the team today that, while we were doing D-team and there was a scout team going on, the scout offense was going, he was always in the back running sprints. He cared about football. He cared about his teammates. Him and Danny had a remarkable bond. But I think the thing, the tangible things are easy, but he was funny. He's just an amazing teammate, and obviously could do it with the lights on. He was tougher than people give him credit for. Found ways to get open. Everybody knew he was going to get the ball. Wasn't fast enough. All he did was get the job done.
Thanks, Coach.
I was looking up his stats yesterday. Man, he's 12 years, 9,000 yard seasons. Some of those years, 1,300. That's got to be one of his legacies. Is just how he showed up every game, every season.
That's it. And I think you got to be healthy in order to put up stats like that. And so that's what I mean. He's got durability and toughness, and that's why I spoke to his conditioning. And he really knew the things that were important to have, not just short-term success, but to have sustainability. And so, those tangible stats speak for themselves, but it's the work behind the scenes that I really came to appreciate about Darren.
What's the week been like after you've made the change?
Different, absolutely. Anytime there's a different voice in the room, somebody who's in front of the room, it's different. Once everybody's settled in, they come out to work. Their job is to perform, and our job is to prepare. So from that standpoint, I can't say enough great things about the offense. It's a change for the offensive staff too, and it's bigger than just. I know from the outside in, it's just play calling, right? But, there's meetings, there's scouting reports, there's football. The football thing that coaches do, all that's changed also, other than just what are you doing in practice, what plays are you going to call. So I can say that it's been extremely positive.
We all know Scott's resume, and I don't think there's any doubt he can step in at this point. How is this difficult for Taylor, who is a rookie, a young guy, and now he's going to have a different voice in his head as he goes out to make plays?
I think that'll be established over time. I mean, I could give you a quick answer and say, it's fine. At the same time, you got to perform. And that's, I love that across the league there's been a lot of backups that are getting time. And I think you got to be durable, and you got to withstand other teams' game plans. And those are kind of the backups that have survived and have become starters. And so he's in that process right now, and you add a coaching change in there, that's one more variable. Doesn't mean that it's positive or negative. It means it just is another variable, and we'll see how that unfolds over time. But I can say that Taylor just wants to win. He loves football. It could be anybody in that room. He would approach it the same. He wants to be great. He wants to be coached, and ultimately, he's got to be part of winning.
Give me your take on the Elks 0-9. They seem to be getting closer and closer some games, and other games they seem to take a step back.
Yeah, and I respect the question, but these guys know what I'm going to say here is that I really stay away from talking about other people's football team. I have an observation. We're not looking at their record. I'll say that, to be honest with you. If you're not ready to play in pro football, you'll get beat. It's just that simple. And I look at the way that they started last week. They were ready to play. And, the score reflected that a little bit. Now, it ultimately didn't end up in their favor and whatnot. But other than that, I know a Chris Jones team is not getting on the airplane to compete. That they're going to want to win. And that's the goal of every football team. It's just in sport, there's always going to be a winner and a loser. So we'll be prepared like they're 9-0. I can tell you that. Other than that, not much comment on their ball club.
Thank you.
The return of Dylan Wynn, what does that bring to your defense?
Well, I can tell you what it's meant in the past, and he's a guy that, He plays hard, not sometimes, but all the time. He's a Tie-Cat. He knows what that embodies. He's a leader by example. He can be a leader by voice. He's going to help people get lined up. He's going to have a different demeanor on the sideline. He's going to have a different demeanor in the huddle. It's things that don't show up in the stat column and like on a tangible play, like pancaking somebody or walking somebody back. He just brings a lot of those things to the table. But there'll be a little bit of rust to knock off. Like, he hasn't played ball in a little while, but I can tell you one thing that'll be hard to question, and that's his effort and his energy.
Do you have to save him from himself the last 2 weeks? You brought him out the 6th game, and I'm wondering, he probably, in his mind, knew that he was ready to play 3 weeks ago. And do you sort of have to pull the reins on a player like that?
You do. You got to put a governor on a guy like that. And you want that, though. I would love a whole football team full of guys that you're saying, oh, ease up. But he knows that we have his best interest. We hire a medical team and a professional staff for a reason. And there's a ramp-up phase. This wasn't just a forearm sprain. This was a little bit more significant than that. So you hire people to do a job, and you let them do their job. You communicate that to the player, and then you move forward. So now the day's here, so we don't have to talk about any of that anymore.
Behind your quarterback, as inexperienced as he is a couple of guys that haven't taken a lot of really any snaps with your team.
Yeah.
You want to establish the run, I'm assuming, and part of that will depend on the way he runs. You have to. It's going to be free to go. Is Powell going to be free to go?
Oh yeah. I mean, he's got to play football, right? We're playing to win. We're playing to win. He's got reads to make. If it's not there and running presents itself, we're not telling him to take a knee, so to speak. So he's going to do what his instincts tell him. Yeah, there's times to be smart. I don't want him to lower his shoulder and stick his head in a blender. We're not looking for that. This is time to play smarter football too. So at the same time, he's just a naturally competitive guy. Anytime you put the pads on and you're out there, you're susceptible to things we don't like to talk about. But we won't play scared. We'll play smart.
He did that. I thought I noticed one time running to the left last game,
yeah,
where you could see him say, "I got to go down here."
Yep. Yeah, and that's what I mean by smarter. Yep, absolutely.
Put a shoulder.
Yeah, well, sometimes the situation calls for that, and at that point you can't coach him. He's going to do what takes over. The preparation starts now. You given the situation. Is it 3rd and goal? Is it 3rd and the game on the line? Is it the first quarter and your first scramble? Everything's not equal when it comes to making decisions like that.